Cheesy the Podcast, presented by Just Cheesy Productions.
Hi there, I'm your host, Fondue. As the United States celebrates its 246th birthday, what better way to celebrate than with American cheese?
American cheese.
We're going to talk about prohibition in cheese,
Ooh.
and we tell a very cheesy joke.
Yeah, we do.
Stay tuned for Season 2, Episode 7 of Just Cheesy, the podcast. So, Cheesy, do you know the original American cheese?
Kraft singles, duh.
Nope. Cheddar.
What?
According to Wikipedia, when the British came to the U.S., they began making cheddar cheese.
Oh.
And by 1790, those same cheddars were exported back to England.
Wow.
And according to a book by Robert Carlton Brown, The Complete Book of Cheese, what was known in America as yellow cheese or store cheese was known as American cheddar or Yankee cheddar back in England. And it also says that the Oxford English Dictionary lists the first known usage of the word American cheese as occurring in the Frankfort, Kentucky newspaper The Guardian of Freedom in 1804.
1804?
It was well over 100 years later before Kraft got into the game.
Holy cow.
In a blog called WisconsinCheeseman.com, there's an article about original American cheeses.
Okay.
According to the article, of course, many immigrants arrived to the U.S. and they brought with them their cheese-making techniques.
Okay.
And many of those people and their techniques went on to create purely American cheeses.
Wow.
The first, Baby Swiss.
Baby Swiss.
Well, technically, Swiss cheese does not exist in Switzerland.
What? No way.
If you recall, back in Season 1 on Episode 8, we talked a little bit about Swiss cheese.
Oh, that's right.
In Switzerland, they have various Alpine-style cheeses,
Okay.
and they're known by traditional names like Emmentaler, Gruyere, Fontina, and Jarlsberg.
Oh, yeah. I remember.
So the kind that we know here in America as Baby Swiss was actually developed in America.
Really?
And apparently, according to this article, there is nothing like it made in Switzerland.
Wow.
Colby is a primarily American cheese.
Okay.
It was developed in a small town in north central Wisconsin
Wow.
in 1874.
Wow.
Kojak is actually Colby and Monterey Jack mixed together.
Oh.
Monterey Jack is an American cheese. It was made
Wow.
by Mexican friars in Monterey, California in the 1800s.
What about American cheese?
Yeah, I bet you're referring to the Kraft style American cheese.
Yep.
So Kraft began marketing in the 1910s, and he patented a new method of manufacturing processed cheese.
Ah.
It wasn't too long after that the processed cheese began to be referred to as American cheese rather than the cheddar that they made in the U.S.
Really?
In order for it to be labeled American cheese, according to the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, it must be manufactured from cheddar cheese, Colby cheese, washed curd cheese, or granular cheese, or any mixture of two or more of them.
Okay.
They must be at least 51% cheese.
Wow.
They can include ingredients such as cream, milk, skim milk, buttermilk, or whey.
Okay.
The cheese is ground, combined with emulsifying agents. It's mixed and heated until it forms what they call a melted homogeneous mixture.
Okay.
It's heated to at least 150 degrees Fahrenheit to pasteurize it
Okay.
for a minimum of 30 seconds.
Okay.
The individually wrapped slices are formed from processed cheese which solidifies between the wrapping medium.
Interesting.
If you're interested in more, there's a really good program on the History Channel called The Food That Built America. And in their Season 2, Episode 4 called American Cheese, they go into the details of James Kraft and the challenges of making cheese.
Interesting.
And did you know you could actually make American cheese at home?
You can?
According to a website called browneyedbaker.com, she has a recipe here that talks about making American cheese in your own kitchen.
Wow.
She recommends using Colby, gelatin, water,
Okay.
whole dry milk powder, salt, cream of tartar, and some whole milk.
Wow.
Essentially, you put everything into a food processor, you boil it, you pour it into a bowl and wait for it to basically set and then slice it.
Holy cow.
You can find the link to this recipe in the show notes for this week's episode.
Thank you.
American Cheese, not a sponsor.
Nope.
But if they were, their ad would go right here. In 1920, a national prohibition began in the United States.
What's prohibition?
The word prohibition actually means forbidding something by law.
Okay.
In the U.S., prohibition focused on the manufacture, transportation, and sale of alcoholic beverages.
What does that have to do with cheese?
Well, for one, before prohibition, Limburger sandwiches were a big deal.
Really?
That's right. It was rye bread, onion slices,
Ew.
mustard, and Limburger cheese. And it was served with your favorite beer.
Yum, maybe?
After Prohibition, Limburger cheese sales went down about 30%, and technically they've never recovered.
Wow.
There's only one producer of Limburger cheese left in the United States.
Aw, that stinks.
I'm not sure Limburger would find that funny.
Okay.
While Limburger suffered during Prohibition, other products did very well.
Really?
In an article in atlasobscura.com, many brewers had to come up with different ways to make products during Prohibition.
Interesting.
Many of them made very low alcohol products that they called near beer.
Okay.
6 of the breweries received permission to brew beer as a medical product for pregnant women.
Oh my.
Some of them began making alcohol-free soft drinks.
Okay.
Anheuser-Busch experimented with carbonated coffee called Cafo
Cafo.
and tea called Bush tea.
Bush tea.
Some of them got a little more creative.
Okay.
Coors made ceramics.
Ceramics.
Anheuser-Busch, Pittsburgh Brewery, Stroh's, Yingling, and a few others made ice cream.
Ice cream.
Anheuser-Busch made everything from infant formula to frozen eggs.
Wow.
And one of the most interesting things came from Pabst.
Pabst.
First, they decided they were going to invest in artichoke juice.
Ew.
And back in the 1800s, they decided to raise French Percheron horses to haul their beer wagons.
Ooh.
But the car got in the way, and so they shifted to rearing Holstein dairy cattle.
Go cows.
They then decided to shift into making cheese and other dairy products.
Wow.
They marketed something called Pabst-et.
Pabst-et.
They touted it as pure Holstein milk from our tuberculosis-free herd.
Tuberculosis free.
They released a cookbook called Recipes the Modern Pabst-et Way, and they sold at least 8 million pounds of
Wow.
Pabst-et during Prohibition.
What exactly is Pabst-et?
Good question. Pabst-et is a processed whey cheese similar to Velveeta, but more spreadable.
Okay.
This is according to VintageRecipeBlog.com. And they say it was probably more like the cheese spread that comes in small crocks now. Their cheese business was pretty successful, and that caused a lawsuit between Pabst and Kraft.
Wow.
Kraft won the case, but gave Pabst a royalty-free license to continue making Pabst-et.
Nice.
And after the Prohibition ended, Pabst sold the cheese back to Kraft, who produced it until at least the late 40s.
Wow.
It looks like they made several flavors. They made pimento, standard, brick, and Swiss.
Yum.
And Pabst actually made things such as PBR mac and cheese
Ooh.
and PBR cheddar nuggets,
Wow.
served in a cut-up can. Are you ready for a joke, Cheesy?
Yeah.
Why did the grocery store clerk put markers, glitter, and glue next to the American cheese slices?
Markers, glitters, and glue. I have no idea.
Because the clerk thought it was a craft show. Get it? A craft show?
Yeah.
K-R-A-F-T?
That was so bad.
Oh, no way. That was funny and a little bit cheesy. Thanks for listening to Season 2, Episode 7 of Just Cheesy, the podcast. Tune in next week where you find out how you can participate in an exciting cheese-related giveaway.
Stay cheesy, everybody.